This is Voice to Culture, a podcast for the modern day confused citizen. Hello, I'm your podcast host, Helen.
I'm Kelly.
I'm Michelle.
I'm Amy.
And I'm Carolyn.
Welcome back to another episode. Today, we have a special guest who recently attended the protest for the Black Lives Matter movement. We are here to discuss her own personal experiences regarding the protest. Would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Holcombe. I am 25. I almost forgot. I'm 25. So I'm not Gen Z, but very close. I live in Milpitas, California, residing right by Milpitas High School. I just moved over here. I'm currently an HR generalist for one of Google's vendors called Lux Bus America, and I love pets.
Okay, so before we start, as always, a quick disclaimer. Some of the contents covered are based on opinionated ideas and beliefs. Please fact check everything before forming conclusions.
So Jennifer, do you want to tell us about, which protests you attended, including like intersectional ones, and why you decided to join?
So actually, it was a while back. I think it was back in 2014 or 15. I went to a small little protest out in Oakland for Eric Gardner, if you guys remember, the gentleman who was choked for selling cigarettes. But fast forwarding to today, me and a group of my friends, we actually went to a protest in San Jose, downtown San Jose. They had protests every single day outside of City Hall, starting from 2 p.m. to whenever. But we decided to go out there, and I wish I could have gone a lot more, but now with everything slowly ramping back up, my schedule is a little hectic right now. But I just think it was very important for me and my friends to go because we're in the middle of what I like to call a revolution, right? And people don't think, well, what difference are you going to make by showing up? But with that mindset, oh my gosh, if you guys were at the San Jose protests, I went, I think 3 times. The last time I went was on Breonna Taylor's birthday, which was huge. It was insane. They marched from City Hall all the way over to the police station in San Jose. So, I mean, it was incredible. More hand sanitizer than I've ever seen in my life, which I can't ever find. But, I mean, it's always safe. And it was such a humbling and just a really good experience to be a part of.
Okay, so people opposing the movement argue that Floyd had a criminal record prior and thus shouldn't be seen as the martyr of the Black Lives Matter movement. So what are your thoughts on that?
So George Floyd having a criminal record I hate, one of the biggest things that I hate is anytime someone is killed or whatever, for whatever reason by an officer, the first thing they want to do is bring up their criminal record, right? I stole a pen when I was 5. Does that mean I deserve to get choked to death? No. We all do bad things here and there, right? And we're supposed to be in a world of second chances and all that stuff. A criminal record doesn't mean that you get sentenced to death for whatever it is, and it doesn't justify why someone should die, right? And it's very frustrating that anytime someone is either killed by a police officer or by a racist individual, they can try and justify by saying, well, you know what, that individual has had a criminal record, he's a bad guy. And we've seen it time and time again. George Floyd, right? Ahmaud, they try to say all these things about them to make it look like killing them was justifiable.
Also, I just want to say that I totally agree with what you're saying. And I want to add on to the fact that when that officer killed him, he was suffocating him because there was the crime where they thought that he had a counterfeit $20 bill, but in that moment, like, he was actually innocent, and so he was basically putting him in like a chokehold position with his knee. Like, in that moment, he was still an innocent man, and when you see the video, like, he was still a human, and he was still like dying in that video. You can still see at the end of the day, he is still human, and like when you look back on it, like, that's just a person who was calling out for their mom and telling the officer to stop.
Yeah, no, I watched it the first time and it was absolutely heartbreaking to even watch, but I had to go back and watch it again because of the things that I saw on social media that he was saying, and I just wanted to hear it. And I wish I didn't do that again because it was so heartbreaking, but we need to see these things, right? I think you brought up a good point. At the end of the day, we're all human. They like to talk about, oh, you're innocent until proven guilty. That's not the case for Black folks. And that's why Black Lives Matter is so important, because they're automatically guilty because of the color of their skin, right? And that's what happened with George Floyd. A counterfeit $20 bill, which at that moment, we didn't even know if it was real or fake, right? They all already think that this person is guilty because of the color of their skin. And that's why it's so important, this movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, it's so important for us to show face and to go out there and fight side by side for equality, for them to be looked at as humans. Now, people are always going to bring up all these other arguments, right? But I think at the end of the day, all the Black Lives Matter protest really stands for is they just want to be treated equally. They just want white privilege. They just want the same privileges as white people have, really. That's all it is. And the fact that it's even a debate, the fact that anyone even wants to argue about racism is just mind-baffling. But it's a very sad video, indeed.
I feel like this what you just said now kind of partially answers the questions that we were about to ask you. And so like the questions that we were going to ask you were, why do you think the movement gained so much traction after Floyd's death? And why do you think this burnt out community is pushing more than ever for change now? But do you have any other thoughts to add besides what you just said? Yeah.
No, for sure. I think it's always happened, right? But I think now with the power of social media has its downside, but then it also has its really, really good sides, because of social media, we're able to go out there and protest. The news stations aren't saying, hey guys, at 5 p.m. go out there and protest for Black Lives Matter. They don't say that. Not only that, the power of social media, it's really given us all a real live look into what's actually happening around the world. The news only covers so much, right? With social media, those are real people. I'm not saying news anchors aren't, but those are real people who are living day in and day out, who are experiencing these things firsthand. The camera phone has been such a powerful tool since then. And I think the reason why it's louder and making much more noise than it ever has before is because it was caught on video, and there were multiple officers involved, and we're just tired. People are tired of seeing cops walk away or get paid leave for killing a person, right? Someone who's supposed to serve and protect are killing us. But when we kill someone, we are held accountable for it, 100%. But I think the reason why it's so big now more than ever is because of the power of social media. People are finally seeing it. People who haven't seen it before, and just they're tired of cops walking away free.
Yeah, I totally agree. I heard this quote somewhere that said that racism isn't getting worse, it's just getting filmed. And it kind of, reiterates your point, as you said earlier.
I definitely agree with you, and I feel like news stories, I feel like sometimes they like to like switch around the story and change it, and there's been like so many instances where they don't show like how the police are like really bad, and I feel like social media is really, really great, because then now we could see the perspectives of both like the police and the protesters as well. So I feel like that's really important.
No, you're absolutely right. I think I saw on social media, I think it was an LA protest where it shows officers kind of like driving through a crowd, and then it cuts off as protesters blocking cop cars, right? On Twitter, you see them running over protesters, right? And that's why this movement is so loud now more than ever, is because people are realizing that the media has lied to us multiple times. The people who commit the murders are writing the reports. It's just frustrating. It's very overwhelming. And I think that's why it's gained so much traction and more than ever. And like I said, this is a revolution. So it's crazy.
Where can people find legitimate and safe protests to attend, and how do you find them?
All protests are actually safe and peaceful. There's always going to be the onesie twosies who are maybe out there for something other than the cause, and you're going to have that in anywhere you go shopping, everyone's there to pick up groceries, right? Maybe there's one or two people who are there trying to steal something. It doesn't mean that going shopping is bad. So I think all protests are actually peaceful. Every single one that I've been at has been peaceful. And really everything was just through social media. I don't follow an account. It was more of like, hey guys, I heard there's a protest here. Hey guys, I heard this is happening. Some people started up on their own. Some of the protests that I went to, the organizers are unknown. We don't even know who the organizers are. And that's because people are just putting it out there and everyone's just willing to show up. I think the best way to do it, personally for me, is I go on Twitter and then I do like hashtag San Jose protest and see if anyone's talking about anything at all. And I use that and be like, oh, cool, a couple people are going here at 3 p.m. Boom, let's go. I mean, that's the best way. I know there are some accounts out there, though, that have like a schedule lined up for protests and things like that. I just don't have that information.
How do you think we can better deal with racism in the American police system? And what are some steps we can do to, what are some steps that we can take?
I think first, as far as the whole system goes, it's not gonna happen overnight. And I think it needs to start from the top because the top are the most powerful, right? And then it also has to start from the youth. You guys, all of you guys, right? You guys are doing something great here. And this is going to be that one step that's going to be step towards change. I like the term, be the change you want to see. That I love that term a lot. And the youth, if we get into positions of power, we can make those changes happen. Because right now, the reason why all this is really happening, continuing to happen, is because the people at the top are continuing to allow these things to happen. But when you have a group of diverse individuals in there who want to see change, you're going to see that change happen. So I think that it definitely has to start from the top. As far as the police goes, better training, because if they're able to shoot someone because they are terrified and they're anxious and they don't know what to do, then why are we not allowed to do that as human beings, right? They need more training. They need probably more schooling, because I mean, if you guys seen how long it takes to be a police officer, I could become a police officer if I wanted to. All of you guys probably can. I think it starts there. As far as like internally for yourself, for me, what I've done is correcting not only my behavior, but the people around me. I used to let jokes slide between my friends, but now I'm actually saying something about it. My family being of Asian descent, so I'm Vietnamese and white, but my family did not okay me going to those protests. So one way that I helped that, and I kind of did stuff, was talk to my family about it, educate them, get into an argument with them, but educate them and explain to them, teach them that we have this privilege to do this, and our ancestors probably protested so that we can be here, which is why this movement is so big. But if you want to help out and you want to change this, it really starts with yourself, your surroundings, educating the people around you, your family, and then being the change that you want to see.
So I have one last question. So as a result of the protests, San Jose City Council has set aside $2 million for new equity and policing reforms. However, they also decided to maintain law enforcement's funding at an overwhelming $449 million. How do you feel about this?
I think the police get a lot of money, and it's very, while they took the $2 million and they're keeping it for police reform, there's so much money still going into the San Jose Police Department that I don't really think they need. And we can argue this all day, because I mean, you see nurses and doctors dying for PPE, right? And here's officers getting new military grade weapons and kits and whatever, face masks and all those things. I think when I say defund the police, I don't mean like bankrupt them, entirely. I think some of that money could be used elsewhere, building, I don't know, homeless shelters or after school programs for the youth, whatever it is, because maybe if we invested that money into the community, there wouldn't be that many crimes. So that we needed to invest all that money into the police department. So that's how I feel about it. And I don't agree with that amount of money just for one specific department in one city.
I will say that like the $2 million kind of shows the tides turning in protest favor. So that kind of like I feel like that could like encourage more people to like keep on fighting and to keep on advocating for the movement.
I agree.
So I actually attended the city council meeting with the council members, and especially with our mayor Sam Liccardo, and he kind of talked about where that 449 million in police funds come from. He did say that a large portion of it goes back to the retired police officers, and he was saying basically that even though San Jose's police budget is a lot, we are still defunded considering our population as a city in comparison to other cities such as like New York City, where like their police department is, I don't know if you heard, but like they're going through some changes and they have gone through with defunding. And it just seems like the council members, they still believe in reform, and the people calling the public, like a lot of them are kind of tied up on this issue, because like the younger generation does believe in defunding the police and reinvesting that fund into like the community, whereas the older generation was still firm on reforming the police and maintaining this idea that the police are only there to help, when, as we've seen with like the San Jose Police Department, like something's not working and we really do need change.
No, you're absolutely right. I think it's definitely a step in the right direction, for sure.
Yeah, I think we just need to continue to have these conversations, because the only reason that we are seeing change after so long is because of all the protests and because of everyone that's like speaking on it. So like going back to what, like people making excuses for George Floyd's death, and I've seen a lot of people creating conspiracies and theories about how like his death was staged, and it's really disrespectful. And I guess people just have to realize that like instead of making excuses for these like Black people's deaths, they have to realize that they're not being killed for their criminal records or anything. They're being killed for their skin color. So.
And I just want to add on to that, the privilege that we have of not being Black. And I think that if you have that privilege, use it for good. So I just want to add that last piece. Use it for good.
So that wraps up our interview with Jennifer about her personal experiences from the protests.
Links to petitions and ways you can support the movement are also provided in the description box. If you're interested in what we do and want to better understand what we're about, please check out all our socials. All ads are at Voice to Culture.
If you like this episode, please give us a review or like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified every time we upload a video.
Again, thank you so much, Jennifer, for sharing your story with us and your thoughts about the movement. We really enjoyed having you as a guest, and be sure to follow her on Twitter, and it will be also in the description box.
We'll be back soon with another episode. Please stay safe and healthy, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.